Welcome to Heroes First Podcast, sponsored by Fund the First, the nation's leading verified crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals. And now, your host, broadcasting from Long Island, New York, Robert Garland.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this week's episode of Heroes First Podcast. Each week, you will hear from a new guest that portrays excellence in the first responder, military, or medical professional field. If you are an active or retired member of the service, or even a family member or a friend, then this show is for you. I would like to now present to you our guest for episode number 7 of this podcast series, Jasmin Cruz. Jasmin, thank you for coming.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great. So, Jasmin, you have your own mobile application, Milsomuster, right? I think I pronounced it. Milsomuster, is that how you say it? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, they're like, what does that mean? What is it? So my husband's active duty Navy, and each branch of the military, they have their own terms for certain things. And Milso is kind of general, broad, just, military significant other. And then muster is actually a word that the Navy uses when they kind of need to do like a roll call or gather and meet, kind of to do like a debriefing almost. So I thought it was like a cute play on words, military significant other gathering on this app. So Milsomuster was created.
I'm not a fan of that word. That was when I was in the police academy 13 years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. But whenever they said muster up and get into muster, formations are never fun. You stand there forever.
Yeah.
I'm sure your husband feels the same exact way. So tell me about your husband. Where's he stationed now? What has he been doing?
Yeah, so he's currently attached to the USS George H.W. Bush. It's currently dry dock, or it's coming out of dry dock in Norfolk, Virginia. So it's currently where we are. We've been here since 2017, and we actually will be leaving soon. He just found out we actually are going to San Diego.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I remember we were speaking on Clubhouse and saying how you jump around every once in a while, but this is that's a big move, right? It's cross country.
Yeah. We're excited. We've never been on the West Coast, and being that like Hampton Roads, Virginia is a really big military area, we thought we were going to get stuck here because a lot of people end up staying here for a very long time. So when he found that out, we were like, wow, like that's a big, big jump, big move. And we're excited because like I said, we've been here since 2017. So it'd be a nice change of scenery for sure.
Warmer weather. Well, actually, no, not maybe a little warmer, right?
It's more my vibe, I guess. I'm from Miami. We're both from Miami. So Virginia is like a little bit on the colder side, not what we're used to. So yeah, this will definitely be a little bit more closer to home.
Well, you're from New York originally too, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York. My husband actually grew up in Florida, so I didn't meet him till later on. But my parents are from New York and New Jersey, and my dad was actually in the Army, so we moved around a lot between Florida and New York. And then I grew up like in the Bronx, went to Catholic school. All of my family is still up there. And middle school and high school ended up being back in Miami, and kind of been there ever since until I met my husband.
That's good. That's really good. So let's spin back to Milsomuster. So where did you come up with the full idea for it?
So it was based on my experience, like literally in my first year of being a Navy wife. So my husband joined back in 2016. We actually met when I was joining, and I've been a soccer player ever since I was a kid. And unfortunately, I got a really bad injury on my leg, and I was not able to join. So he just ended up joining. So I just became the military spouse. And when he joined as like an undesignated sailor. And for some people who may not know what that means, it's basically you're signing for the military, but you're not committing to a specific job, right? And we knew before he even graduated boot camp that we actually had, gotten wind of him receiving orders to Japan. And we were super excited, you know what I mean? Like we heard nothing but great things about Japan. It was, great first duty station, right? And basically, right before he was supposed to report to Japan, the ombudsman had contacted us that we actually were going to be ending up in Virginia, and he was actually going to deploy with the ship on the following week. So before we even got there, the ship was already leaving. And I only had a week of notice to prepare basically for not only a move to a completely different place than we originally were planning for, but also for a deployment, where usually you'll get at least a year, maybe even 2 years notice. I only had about a week notice. So it was just me and our dog, and every day just guessing and wondering when he was going to meet the ship for the deployment. And finally one day he just was like, yeah, they're flying me out this week, and it is what it is. So I kind of just had to figure everything out by myself. You know, my mom was an Army wife. She's never really endured a deployment. So I didn't really have anybody to lean on. So it was literally just being in Virginia. To me, it was like the middle of nowhere, not having friends, not having a job, not having, you know, any support system, anyone to tell me like, this is what you need to do. This is how you prepare. I didn't have any of that. So it was literally just me Googling, researching, trying to figure it out, looking things up, going to Fleet and Family, trying to ask questions until I was finally just day by day learning more, catching on. But it was just so tough. It was so challenging. I just felt like, you know, there has to be an easier way to obtain this information without having to go to Google and Facebook and 10 different, you know, different groups and millions of different, you know, places for the one piece of information you need. And mind you, it's constantly changing. So what might be in effect this week in a couple months might not be the same case. So finally, I was just like, this is a big problem, you know, and I can't be the only spouse who's gone through something like this, like a last minute change of orders. And I was just like, what if I created like a space, a hub, just something that housed all the information, all the content, the networking, everything you needed in one place. And that's why I was like, what if I just made an app? You know, we're in this day and age where technology is like huge and apps are like a huge thing. And that's when I was just like, you know what, I'm going to make an app. Like, it just makes the most sense. Have one app that has everything a military spouse needs from day one until, you know, he or she retires. And that's where Milsomuster came from.
That's great. That's awesome. So I'm going to share the screen. Let's take a look at the website.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So we have the website up here, and it's really put together well. Who designed your website? Did you have it outsourced? Did you design it?
I actually did it myself. It was
There's nothing wrong with that.
hours of research as always, but yeah.
That's
I
great.
actually am a photographer, so that picture was actually me photographing a homecoming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So mobile app empowering military spouses and family members globally. So you could download, where do you have it? On all the app stores, on Google, I guess the Apple
so
app
it is on Google and Android and iPhone. So you can have it on your iPad, on your Android phone, your iPhone.
So these are your podcasts? You do all of these?
Yeah. So currently those are our awesome content creators. Those are the ones that basically offer their podcast to our app.
Very cool. So you got that going on. All right. So, and if I'll just go through the page really quick, we have an about page that explains about you and why you did it. Partners. This is pretty cool. So we're going to show Fund the First right there.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this partnership with you guys. I think it's great to open up the communities and allow for people to understand that there are different, you know, means of helping out there. You know, and
definitely.
It's really nice to complement each other. So you have a lot of nice partners here as well, which is great.
Yeah, they're amazing companies that we felt like align with our mission. So we partner with them, and it just made sense.
Great. So this website's excellent. Great work.
Thank you.
Great work. So how's it doing overall?
So currently we are at 800 downloads. You know, so we're growing at a pretty crazy rate. I even just brought on, you know, our first employee, my first partner. Her name is Brittany Lanza. Hi, Brittany. And she's been a great asset to the team. And we're just trying to grow it as much as we can, kind of make it that go-to app. Like I said before, that, you know, as soon as you find out your spouse or your significant other or your boyfriend, brother, son, grandson is joining the military, then you know, download the app and it'll guide you through whatever's to come.
That's excellent. You know, it's a small world. We'll get into Clubhouse for a second. I love that thing. Clubhouse is awesome.
Me too.
I sat in a room today for 4 hours waiting to speak.
Yeah.
I finally went up there and it was in front of 500 people because that's the max right now.
Oh,
so
wow.
Ton of feedback. So it went really well. But you know, it's worth it to wait in those channels. And it was funny. We stumbled upon each other on Clubhouse. And
right.
You actually saw one of our co-founders. You're like, wait, she has a mobile application too.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I recognized Ashton. I didn't realize that she was like Organized Chaos, but I recognized her name. And then I saw you guys and I was like, oh, let me look at their bio. And I'm like, oh, New York police officers, fun fact, like I have a degree in criminal justice. So like to me, like that stood out and that was so cool. And then I started to listen in on what you guys did. And I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Like I never would have thought something like this existed. So that's when we were introduced to each other, Fun the First and Milsomuster.
That's great. There's a lot of applications out there for military spouses. I've been doing my research on this, and listen, for you to be able to create something like this and give back to the community in a different way is excellent.
Yeah.
People definitely need spaces like this. What types of feedback are you getting?
I mean, it's all like amazing feedback, and I think it's what's helped the growth because it's been nothing but like, oh my God, like why wasn't this done before? This is something I've needed. There's no guide, but this is like the next best thing. Just people just wanting to download it, engage, partner with us, and just be part of it. So the feedback has just been insane. I never expected it. We just celebrated our 1 year anniversary like 2 weeks ago, and it flew by, and I never would have expected us to be where we are right now. And it's amazing the feedback we've gotten, especially like you've seen all the people we've partnered with today. I never expected all of these people to want to work with me or with the app. So it's just been great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So where can we find Milsomuster? We have it at the website. We have the mobile applications. Then you have social media on all platforms. Are you on LinkedIn also?
Yeah, so it's on LinkedIn as well. You can find me, I'm Jasmin Cruz, or you can find Milsomuster on LinkedIn. And it is on also social media platforms at Milsomuster. We're on Facebook, Instagram, hoping to start YouTube a little bit soon, just to kind of grow like, the engagement and
TikTok.
yeah, we work really closely with this company called Stay at Home Profit. It's by April Wilhelm. And she offers like a lot of informational YouTube videos, how to read an LES, how to take advantage of your remote career, because obviously we're military spouses, right? So we're constantly moving. So, I mean, the resources and the exposure is there.
That's great. So how long has your husband been in the Navy for?
So it will be 5 years in October. Yeah. So he's getting there.
Loves it? Does he love it?
Yeah. He just re-enlisted last month, actually. He likes it a lot. Obviously, our experience when he first joined wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But he feels that it's definitely something that he enjoys. And, he was a mechanic for Volkswagen before he joined the military. And he loved it, but he felt like it wasn't fully, like, satisfying for him. And now he feels like he's making a difference, and he's actually getting to do, like, hands-on training, and he's enjoying it. And he went to amazing places when he deployed, like places you only dream of visiting.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, that in itself has been like an experience. So he's really enjoying it.
So how did you guys end up meeting? Let's hear that story. Let's hear the story. Come on.
That's a funny story, actually. So we actually met because a girl I went to high school with used to date him. So I never knew who he was. I never met him. I just knew who he was. It was kind of one of those things where, like, in my city, everybody just kind of stayed in their own area. And sure enough, like, we happened to finally connect on Instagram, and he was just kind of like just liking all my pictures. Every time I would post, he's like the first one to like it. I'm like, okay, like he's stalking me. And then finally, one day I just messaged him and I was like, okay, you're liking all my pictures. Like, are you gonna say anything? And he was like, okay, what's up? And it kind of just went from there. And it was actually my 22nd birthday. And I was like, hey, I'm going out with a couple friends this weekend. Like, you should tag along. And he was like, oh, all right, let's go. And we kind of just hit it off. Like, it was just like immediate. I met his family, he met my family. And as time went on, we started dating. And like I said before, I was joining the Navy. So I didn't really want to take it seriously because I knew I was leaving soon. And he was working at a Volkswagen and he didn't want to go to school, but he wanted to do something more. So I was kind of like, why don't you go talk to my recruiter with me and kind of see if it's something you'd be interested in. And if, you don't like it, you just serve 4 years and hey, it looks great on your resume.
Oh, wait, so you went into the military also?
No. So right before I was supposed to leave, I tore a tendon in my ankle playing soccer. Ooh. Yeah. So we were going to join together and it didn't work out because of my injury. I had to get surgery to repair it and, replace it. And it was like physical therapy out the butt. but he ended up just joining, and yeah, we kind of went from there.
That's great. That's a good story. Great story. I always like to hear the connection stories. My wife hates it when I explain our story because I basically forced her to date me. But that's a that's a whole other
It's a
story.
story for another day.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. So as a military spouse, what is some of the biggest difficulties that you face?
Oh wow. Shorter list is the difficulties we don't face.
Okay, so
I
how about
mean,
let's do that.
yeah, I mean, there's just so many, like, you're away from family. That's number one. You're in a new place that you're just not familiar with, right? You just have to readjust every so often. I've heard of people having to move once a year almost. Thankfully, we haven't had to have that happen, but it's been a little crazy ride. Career even, and that was kind of another reason why I wanted to start my own business, because I just wanted to work for myself and didn't want to continue to have to experience the stigma of, well, you're a military spouse, you're going to move again soon anyways, you know what I mean? And I felt, at least in my experience, I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously in my career field. Before I met my husband and before this whole Navy thing, I was a paralegal in South Florida. I was working in
Okay.
personal injury, I was in the law office. So I felt that I had a lot of potential to grow. So that kind of was thrown out the window when I became a military spouse, because, that's another thing. Every state you go to has different certifications, different standards, not just for people in the law field, but people in the medical field and people like in the teaching field. What might work in one state may not work in another state, and you have to get recertified. So that in itself is one of the biggest challenges as a military spouse that we face every day.
Some good stuff to talk about for our listeners, other
Yeah.
military spouses hopefully listening. So what is the best part of being a military spouse?
I will say that having to move a lot is like a double-edged sword, kind of, because it's very demanding and it's very, painful to have to move every so often. But it's kind of amazing to be able to say I've lived in these states and I've experienced, and just the people I've met, right? Like even in just the last couple of years, I've met so many amazing people that I never thought I'd even be able to meet. I have friends in California and Arizona that I talk to like on a daily basis. And it's kind of just like, I've never thought I would have friends in a different time zone that like we talk every day, like if she lived down the street. So, I mean, that is like one of the biggest, things that I feel is very positive about it.
Well, do you guys have kids?
Yeah, so we have a toddler. Her name's
Okay.
Gabriella. She is a
Wow.
blessing. Yeah. She was not planned, of course, but we call her a deployment baby.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
That works. So I'm going to ask you two specific questions. I want to see if how these answers are going to go. So,
Okay.
paralegal, soccer player, tried to go into the military but got hurt. Now you have your own application. Would you do it all again? Is this the career that you love right now? If you look back at everything, would you do your life over again the exact same way? Or would you take it a different route? Would you try to get into maybe a law enforcement field or a firefighter field, or try to get into the military again a different way, whatever it may be, or even the medical professional field, or whatever, some type of other business? Let's hear about that.
That's a really good question. To be honest, I would not do it differently because I love what I do. I love that I make an impact and that I'm actually helping a community that needed the help that I'm providing. I would love, I mean, my passion is criminal law. I would have loved to have been a law enforcement officer. That was my ultimate dream. You know what I mean? Like I grew up watching Olivia Benson on SVU and just dreaming like a little girl. Instead of being a princess, I wanted to be her. But I wouldn't do it all over again because I feel like I'm doing something impactful, and I feel like that's just as fulfilling as doing what I'm passionate about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So now with that question, you could use your husband, for example. You could use you as an example. What does a hero mean to you?
To
And I'll
me,
tell you a quick funny story.
yeah.
Hero's first podcast, when I was creating the logos, I had someone make the logos for me. And when I said heroes, they made it with a cape. But I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking heroes as in first responders, military, medical professionals.
Right.
So they sent me this logo with a cape, and then, obviously it evolved into what it is right now. But everyone has their own perception on what a hero is. So I'd love to hear what your perception on what a hero is.
And this is going to sound kind of corny, but I actually just recently found my hero. And her name is Marla Batista. She's with the Batista Project. She's an Army wife. And we recently did an episode with her on our podcast not too long ago. And she actually provides homeless people with the resources and the stuff that they need just to help them try to get back on their feet. And just listening to her story from, how she grew up and how she met her husband and why she does what she does on a daily basis, it was a serious eye opener. And it was just like, wow, like here's a woman who wakes up every day, loves her life because she just helps people that, needs her. You know what I mean? Like for me, she wears a cape every day. She's a military spouse. She doesn't need to spend the money to provide people with, the necessities that they need because they're homeless and fortunately can't, get the help that they need. And that's what she does. And to me, that's a hero, somebody who does something just because they can without needing anything in return.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Perfect answer. So before we wrap things up, Jasmin, is there anything else you wanted to add into the show?
Not really. I mean, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the time that we spent here. It's amazing. I love Fund the First. I love what you guys do. So it's really, really honored to be a part of this.
Hey, we're super happy to be partners with you as well. So thank you everyone for listening to episode 7 of Heroes First Podcast with our guest, Jasmin Cruz of Milsomuster. We'll see you all next time. Thanks, Jasmin.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Heroes First Podcast with Robert Garland. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, share, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to visit fundthefirst.com and follow us on social media at fundthefirst. See you next time.